What is up, everybody? Welcome to my second ever live stream on the channel. I'm joined with Ryan G. Hensley. What up, Ryan?
What's up, buddy? Thanks
Do
for
I call
having me.
you do I call you former 49ers content creator or like kind of still Niners content creator?
I'm still doing
Some Niners stuff.
I'm still doing other people's Niners stuff. Like I'm still at Grant every Monday talking 49ers, and I've
Yeah,
been talking Niners for a long time. But on my channel, we're talking more than just 49ers. We're doing a bunch of different things now.
sick. Well, today it's off-season talk, so it's nothing really crazy. First thing we're talking about, it's probably you love talking about it. Brock Purdy's contract.
Mm,
I've heard so much numbers. I heard 48 million a week ago, and then yesterday I heard it's 55-60. Ryan, what do you
hmm
think his contract's going to be? Or let's do this. What do you think it's going to be? But what do you like? What do you think it's going to be? But what do you, if you were the GM, what would you want it to be? Or maybe you have a different, would you draft a quarterback? What would you do? What do you think Brock Purdy's contract is going to look like?
I think it's going to be about 55 million per year. I think 3
Okay.
years guaranteed. I think that's realistic of what we can expect to happen with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't give him a contract. I've said it before. I wouldn't give him a contract. He's still under contract right now
For one more year.
for 1 more year. So, well, let me clarify. I would offer him a really low contract that he
What's
probably
low?
wouldn't accept.
What's low?
30,
Like what?
35, 40 million per
I,
year.
I still think 30 is like, I don't, man. I don't know. So you're offering him 30 and you think he's going to make 55?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I would let it play out. I would say this is look. We'll give you this.
Mm,
If you don't want to do it, then we want to see just 1 more year for you. And I
yeah.
would bring in a veteran like a Justin Fields, Daniels, somebody like that. And then I
Mm.
would also draft a quarterback. I'm just not sold that Brock Purdy is the long-term franchise quarterback for the 49ers yet.
So there was news. I was on a live with Grant yesterday and he brought up Aaron Rodgers. Would you
Mhm.
want Aaron Rodgers on the Niners? And he brought up a good point because he was like, if Aaron Rodgers came to the Niners, maybe Devontae Adams could come in the package as well. Would you want that? Or like, no, you don't want Aaron Rodgers because he's like, what, 42 right now? He didn't have a bad year last year. He was 8th in most yards in the NFL. Like he wasn't bad, but it's just, would you want a guy like Aaron Rodgers?
All right, from a passing standpoint, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. From a
Oh,
passing standpoint,
$1,000%.
I love. He's just one of the most natural throwers of the football.
Mm,
Um, Personality wise, not the biggest fan of Aaron Rodgers. He seems a little toxic.
he does.
Mobility wise, coming off that Achilles, that could be a problem for him. Although I expect him to be a little better this coming season than he was last season because it was
Mm,
fresh, and that's typically how it works. I do think that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback still than Brock Purdy. You're talking about a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion. Even at his age, I think he is better than Brock Purdy. I don't think it would happen because multiple reasons. I just think Kyle Shanahan and Aaron Rodgers' personality would not go together. I think Robert Saleh being the defensive coordinator for the 49ers would make it super awkward because I don't think
that
they
would
had a
be
great
really awkward.
relationship.
No, that would be
Right?
really awkward.
So I don't think it happens. I would do it, but I don't think it happens.
Do you think Devontae Adams would come in the package deal or no? Because like when Grant said that, when he was like, right when he told me, he was like, "Would you want Aaron Rodgers?" I laughed and I was like, "No." But then right when he said Devontae Adams was in the deal, I was like, "Okay, wait a minute, that could be actually pretty good." But do you think Aaron Rodgers would perform better on the Niners than he did on the Jets? Because our offensive line is me like who has a better offensive line, the Jets or the Niners? It's probably
Uh,
the Jets.
yeah, it's probably the Jets, but neither are great. I do think he'd be better on the 49ers if him and Kyle can get in sync on like what kind of offense they want to run. Like if you have Aaron Rodgers running Jimmy Garoppolo style offense with quick
Mhm.
release, 3 steps and get it out. If he was okay with doing that and agreed to do that, I think they would do really well. So yeah, I think he'd definitely be better on the Niners than he was on the Jets. It's hard to turn down a Hall of Fame quarterback
It is.
like that at any age, and we did it once, and he went on to win the Super Bowl on another team. So, not that I think Aaron Rodgers is necessarily going to do that, but it's possible he could do it with the 49ers. I just think Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, in my opinion, top 20. And Brock Purdy's just not on that level. So, yeah, definitely kick the tires on it.
I agree with you. I think Aaron Rodgers he might be the most talented quarterback ever. And I say that to my friends and they all laugh. Like, if you truly look at it, he's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks ever. And one thing I said also is imagine Aaron Rodgers has an arm. His arm's better than Purdy's. And imagine him just floating balls down to Ayuk. All that.
Mhm. Yeah, it could have been good. It's a shame they didn't draft him. He wanted to come to the 49ers, and they had the option, and they chose Alex Smith. We all know how that went. It's a shame they didn't draft him. I think,
No,
the Niners have a Super Bowl or two if they did.
do you think we actually would have won a Super Bowl? Man, Ryan, I'm 0 for 3 in my lifetime, dude. I haven't seen one win. Have you seen a Super Bowl win?
Yeah, how old are you, bud?
19.
Yeah, so I got kids. I got a son who turns 19 tomorrow. So all they've seen is 3 Super Bowl appearances and 3 Super Bowl losses. I'm 45 years old. I was born in 79, the year that Joe Montana was drafted to the 49ers. All 5 Super Bowl victories happened in my lifetime. I remember 2 very clearly. I remember 3. I don't remember the first 2, but yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, that's you go to the Super Bowl and you win. That's what the Niners did.
Oh, yeah. That's sick. Because for me, it's been Super Bowl and then loss.
Mm-hmm.
For the Niners, like, what do you think? Let's say we do sign Purdy to a big contract. We sign him to 55. What's one thing that would actually make this I'm trying to word this correctly. Let's say we sign Purdy to that big contract. What's one thing that could actually work if we sign him to this big deal? Is it getting our offensive line better? Maybe getting more wide receiver weapons for Purdy? What do you think would actually make this contract not look too bad? And maybe we can actually still make a Super Bowl push with our quarterback making $55 million.
Well, I mean, I think the Eagles just showed everybody what it takes. And it's the same thing I've been saying forever. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's trash by any means at all. He's just not an elite quarterback, and I don't think he could ever be an elite quarterback. I don't really think Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback, but they won the Super Bowl, and it's because their team was just ridiculous. And the Niners showed you what it takes last season. They had a ridiculous roster front to back. They didn't have as good of an O-line, and they didn't have as good of a D-line as the Eagles have just now. So, I mean, that's what it's going to take for the 49ers to win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. They need an elite team around him on both sides of the ball.
Do you think, I was arguing with one of my friends yesterday, he thinks Jalen Hurts, you can put him in that elite category. Do you think Jalen Hurts is elite?
No, I have him just outside of that. Like, he's obviously winning a Super Bowl should mean something.
Yes.
But he's maybe on the best roster to win a Super Bowl.
Is it crazy to say that he was on a better roster than Purdy?
No, he was. He was.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what I was saying. And they're like, no. Your roster was better. I'm like, man, no. Like, their roster cleared. He had the best offensive line in the league, a running back that was about to break the record. He had a top 5 wide receiver. Like, it's just, I don't know. People, when they were doing that, I was like, man,
there's no weakness on that team. Whereas the Niners last year had weaknesses. They had weaknesses on the interior and of the D line, and they had weaknesses on the offensive line. So with the Eagles, there's 0 weaknesses on that team.
Yeah. Next, it's the guy that requested a trade, the greatest wide receiver in the NFL, Deebo Samuel. Ryan, what did you think about that whole Deebo thing? Because I get worked up talking about Deebo Samuel. How did you feel about Deebo? It's like, maybe
why do you get worked up? Let me ask you that. Why do you get worked up?
Man, because when do you see a guy that had 670? Yes, 670 yards where another team's jersey goes on a podcast and says, oh, the Broncos are really special. They got some dogs over there. Well, guess what, Deebo? You're not a dog. You're a puppy. Like, if anything, you're not a dog. So the Broncos wouldn't want you. And then he posts on his close friend's Instagram story saying, oh, the Broncos would be sick. Like, he does all this weird stuff, like punches Tabor Pepper in the face. You're punching a long snapper in the face. I would understand if Deebo had 1,000+ yards this year. Fine. Let's say he carried us all year and we still weren't doing great. Fine, Deebo, request a trade. but you were one of the worst players on the team this year. And you're acting like you're still the Debo from 2019, posting tweets. And when Adam Schefter said, yeah, Debo requested trade, he puts like the hand praying emoji. Like, it's who do you think you are? That's for me. I'm like, who does this guy think he is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little over the Debo Samuel story. I have been for a while. I think the 49ers missed an opportunity to trade him a couple of years ago, or even last year, where they could have got more draft capital back for him. So they are a year or two late on trading Debo. I think what we're seeing from Debo is that he is basically crashing out. I think it's an ego thing mostly for Debo, for Debo to be as good as he was in 2021 to where he's at now. I think it's hard for a lot of these professional athletes when they find themselves in that situation. And I think he's, grasping at straws, asking for a trade, maybe thinking that another team, another environment would be good for him. And maybe it will. But either way, it has to happen. It should have happened last year. I do appreciate what he did for the 49ers, and I wish him good
100%.
luck. But he's past his prime, and I think it's hard for them to deal with.
But what team do you think is going to take the chance on Debo? Because, man, if I'm a GM, I'm not even looking at Debo. You're punching a long snapper. Like, what are you? Personally, with the season he had, if I would have known, I would have cut Debo Samuel right after he punched Tabor Pepper. Because no team does that. I don't care if I know Jerry Rice is like, oh, it's the 80s or it's the 90s. We would have done that. We would have been fighting on the sidelines. It's like, yeah, but it's different times. It's not the 90s and the 80s anymore. It's the 2000s, the 2020s. Like, you can't do that. So I don't like what team do you I'll ask you this. What team do you think Debo's going to go to? And what team do you want Debo to go to?
I don't really care where he goes, to be honest, as long as he's not on the Niners. But I think there's some teams that would do well with him, and I think there's a place for Debo if he gets in shape again, and he usually does.
There's a big
before
if
the season, yeah.
If he gets in shape,
yeah. I would love to see him on like the Ravens. I think he would be interesting on the Ravens with Lamar Jackson on the short routes. I think he could actually do pretty good over there. I think there are a lot of teams that would give him a try on a restructured contract, but his biggest contract already happened with the 49ers. He's not going to get anything like that moving forward. So I think there'd be some teams that are interested in him, and a lot of good former good 49ers, they go to the Raiders to die. So to speak, excuse me, not literally.
Yeah,
but I could see the Raiders picking them up as well.
IMD's ran the chat to something good at
that's
like
Darnell. I went to high school with middle school and high school with Darnell.
Yeah, I did I did like a little video of this guy. He's actually he's really funny. He said the fact that there was no comment on anything when that happened was crazy, because like even when that whole incident happened, no one talked about it. That Tabor Pepper, like of course there was like the press and the media was talking about it, but Debo, like they didn't even talk about it. Like, so your two teams were the Ravens, and then if you were to choose, you say the Raiders?
I'd rather see him. I want to see him on the. Excuse me. I'd like to see him on the Ravens. I'd hate to see him go somewhere and win a Super Bowl, and the Chiefs may be kind of cooked. So I think the AFC is wide open right now.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be fun to watch him on the Ravens. Honestly, him and Lamar Jackson, I think it'd be an interesting matchup.
For me, I think he might go. I think he might go to the Falcons. The Falcons or the Commanders. I don't know why the Falcons always sign Kirk to that much money. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Debo whatever Debo wanted. And then the Commanders, of course, Adam Peters, former 49ers assistant general manager. Maybe he would work better with Jaden Daniels. And I bet Debo would want to play with Jaden Daniels since he's phenomenal. Jaden Daniels is, if he continues to play like this, Jaden Daniels is he's going to be top 5 quarterback in the league. But
I think Adam Peters probably knows better, to be honest. I think, I don't sleep on Carolina either. He's from Carolina. He recently
shipped. Yeah,
he shipped all his belongings to Carolina back home. So I think that's a possibility as well.
The team I'd want him to go to, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why? So then he can just go on a team that gets 3-14, and he can have fun there. Because I feel like with Debo, we have a great year, make it to the Super Bowl. We have one bad year, and he's like, "Okay, I'm out." He's just not a team player. So send him off to a team that doesn't even come close to the playoffs and see how he likes it. That's
I
what I would
think
do.
I think some people can't handle the 2 Super Bowl losses. I think
That
that's
is
what we
true.
see with Debo.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I think it's mentally tough for him, and I think a lot of the fans have kind of turned on him, and the media, and I think he probably just wants a fresh start somewhere. Some of
I think
that's is self-induced.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think the turning point for the media though is when he tweeted, "I'm just not getting the ball," and then
yeah,
Purdy literally lays it right in his chest, and then he dropped it, and then I think the crowd booed, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like
yeah,
the
they
crowd
did.
was booing after. So to be honest, I understand kind of why Debo wants to leave. I just don't like the way he's doing it. There's some people
Yeah,
that they're classy when they leave. They're just, yeah, appreciate everything San Francisco did for me. He's on podcasts talking about other team. He's wearing another team's jersey. That AJ, what did you think about him wearing the Eagles jersey?
yeah. I mean, at this point, like I tweeted out when he did it, that makes that was the final straw for me. I'm over him. I understand that's his friend or whatever, but it
No,
doesn't
but
matter. Like you
I
can have
understand that.
friends that
Yes.
you can have friends that play in the NFL and you can support them, but wearing another team's jersey is just like too much for me. That's the last straw for me for Debo and probably for the 49ers, really.
Do you like the thing that I didn't understand is why did it have to be an Eagles jersey? It could have been an AJ Brown college jersey.
Right. Right.
He just
Exactly.
had like the thing that really when I saw that picture, I thought it was AI generated. I didn't think it was real because it's like you literally the year before just said you hate the Eagles and now you're wearing their jersey. Like it's just I
He
don't know,
likes
man.
the attention. He's kind of a drama queen in that regard. He
Diva.
and he's very the thing about Debo too, man. So I try to give him some leniency. He's very socially awkward. Like he really is. It's not
Oh,
natural for
during
him to
interviews,
be.
yeah, in
Yeah.
interviews, he's like, "Oh, yeah," and he, like, looks like this. He looks really awkward when he does interviews. No, I see where you're yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel, well, let's see where he ends up. I don't know where he is going to end up, but next, free agents. Is there anyone in your mind that you want the 49ers to sign? Because for me, I have some like it's not really we're not this free agency isn't going to be a career. I don't think it's going to be like a sexy off season where we get like T Higgins and all those players. It's going to kind of be like a trenches type of off season. Is there anyone free agent wise that you want or that you like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two guys. I've been saying it for a while now, and it's in the trenches on both sides of the ball, basically right across from each other. I would bring back DJ Jones, who was top 3 in run stopping last year. Like he's still an elite run stuffer. He was top 3 in the NFL as a run stuffer at defensive tackle. So that's a guy I would bring back. And then I would get Drew Dahlman, who has connections with the 49ers at center.
Yeah,
He's one of the best run zone, zone running scheme centers in the NFL. He would be a perfect fit for the 49ers and has big ties with the 49ers as well.
it's crazy. I have two players that I put on my list before doing this
Mhm.
live, and I just had their stats up. You literally picked both of my players. Have it
Yeah.
right here. DJ Jones, Drew Dahlman. Those are the two players I want really bad. For
Mhm.
DJ Jones, I think he might be too expensive though. That's the only thing I'm scared about. That like, do you think he might be too expensive?
I mean, the 49ers have money to work with. I think they're like 6th in the NFL in that regard.
Mhm.
The 49ers' two biggest weaknesses to me in this past season was center, Jake Brendel. So they need to replace him with a veteran, in my opinion. It's going to be hard to pop in a rookie there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the ball, they've been horrible at stopping the run. There's a
Yeah.
ton of great defensive tackles in this draft. I believe there's like 24 ranked starter caliber defensive tackles. That's a good sign for the 49ers.
Mhm.
But again, I would be comfortable with a veteran, proven run stuffer. And DJ Jones legitimately is top 3 in the NFL at stopping the run last year. I would pop in DJ Jones next to a rookie, maybe draft another rookie for depth. And then you got to sewn up and you can be confident about the position. So I think he's a player that's worth the money. They have to stop the run if they want to compete this coming season. If they can't stop the run, they're turn
Well,
it off.
that's been one of the that was one of the bad things this year. We could not stop the run. Teams were just Arizona Cardinals were running all over us. Like that's like unacceptable. But the Drew Dalman, I love Drew Dalman. He's sick. And we've seen the Niners sign centers before. Alex Mack. We've seen them sign centers before, and his PFF grade is insane. He's fourth among centers. Run blocking, he's fifth. Pass blocking, he's 22nd, and he only
Mhm.
gave up 10 pressures. So it's like that's one thing, and I do agree with you. Getting depth would be an amazing thing. Like if we could get a Drew Dalman and then maybe a center. There's one center I like in the draft, Jake Majors from Texas. He's
Mhm.
probably my favorite center in the draft. And if we could get a guy like Dalman to come in and then have Jake Majors behind him, that's one that like that duo would be sick. Because I
Mhm.
think right now it's our weakest points on this team are D line and offensive line. That's our weakest points.
Mhm. Agreed, man. Yeah, those are the two veterans that I would bring in. They need some other stuff though, right? Like Brandon Ayuk's not going to be back until December, so
No.
you can't roll out there. I'm assuming Debo will be gone, and Brandon Ayuk probably won't be back until December. You can't go out there with Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings and who else
No.
like that. That can't be your wide receiver room. So they're going to. I would imagine they get a wide receiver in free agency and possibly in the
Anyone in
draft
mind?
also.
Anyone that
Uh,
you got in mind? Like, is there because for like people saying that there's T Higgins and all that, like, no, it's not gonna be like T Higgins is gonna want bank. What like we do not have $30 million to spend on a wide receiver, even though somehow I swear every player we're interested in, like every single player, like we're interested in Rodgers, T Higgins, DJ Reed, like we're interested in everyone.
yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, you should be, honestly. The funny thing about DJ Reed is he used to be a Niner, and we gave him away. They need a third corner also. Like, we don't know what Luter is, and even if Luter is decent, what's
Mhm.
beyond him? The Niners have a lot of holes to fill. They need depth at corner. They need to figure out what they're going to do at safety, especially if Hufanga leaves. They need a linebacker, honestly, unless they're going to roll with winners, which I might be okay with, especially with Robert Saleh there. I'm sure he could coach him up. But Drake Greenlaw, in my opinion, I've been saying this for a while. I think he's going to be gone. There's going to be a team that is willing to pay him a big contract, even with the injury. So I think Greenlaw is going to be gone. So they got to figure out that the defensive interior line. They need another pass rusher on the outside opposite of Bosa too. So there's a million holes in this team, and it's going to take a miracle for them to build the kind of roster that can compete with the Eagles.
Is there any place you think Greenlaw like what's one team you think that like Greenlaw's going to go to? Do you have any teams in mind that would be really interested in Greenlaw?
Well, the Texans would for sure with D'Amico and that history
100%.
there.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
I would imagine the Commanders as well. The Adam Peters connection.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams I think that would be willing to go after Greenlaw. Greenlaw is really freaking good. And the 49ers have let go of several linebackers. One thing about the 49ers linebacker room, since like 2009, it's been elite. Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Ahmad Brooks. And then you go into the modern era where you have, you know, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, even Aziz Al-Shair went to the Texans and is balling out. Even freaking Orrin Burks it went to the Eagles as a
Don't get
back
me
and
man, oh,
got
that's
in
so
and is balling
stupid.
out. Yeah.
That's so
So,
stupid.
yeah,
Like
I think the Niners know linebackers, man. That's one thing that I usually am pretty confident with the Niners.
the thing that's annoying is Oren Burks. Well, we picked Devondre Campbell over Oren Burks, which is looking at that now, it's like that was so stupid. But
Mm.
where did Oren Burks come? Like the guy just started on the Niners. He was not good at all. He was a special teamer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a special teamer and he struggled in the Super Bowl. So I don't know. He must have got coached up over there in Philadelphia. Sometimes with playing with phenomenal players around you helps, but I mean, he was doing that with Greenlaw and Fred, so it didn't work out. But Robert Saleh is a former linebacker, he's a linebacker specialist. He knows linebackers. He could have done a great job with Orrin Burks. Maybe the lack of a good coordinator
Yeah.
had Orton struggling last year, but yeah, it's surprising. He had a 17 tackle game for the Eagles.
Like that's so stupid. Where was that on the Niners?
Right.
Where was
Yeah.
that on the Niners? But actually, I didn't ask you this. If we do get a receiver in free agency, do you have anyone in mind for free agency wide receivers? Is there anyone you
There's
like?
there's no one I really have in mind or like, to be honest with you. And even if I did, the Niners probably wouldn't get them. Um,
No.
it'll be interesting to see who they roll with. They need a. I mean, if you look at Ricky Pearsall, he's more like a slot guy. And then you got Juwan Jennings, who's a slow slot guy. Really, that's what it is. You got two slot dudes. Juwan can't play outside, but he's not. They need a dude. They need a wide receiver one. Even with Brandon Ayuk here, as much as I like Brandon Ayuk, he's not really like an elite wide receiver one. He's an elite wide receiver two. And Brandon Ayuk's not going to be back to December, and who knows what he's even going to look like. They need a WR1. They still don't have it, and it's kind of been the case for a while now. And they had Debo. Everyone thought Debo was wide receiver one. I always said Brandon Ayuk was better. I still believe that. So they got to make a move for a wide receiver one. Kind of interesting to me is drafting Ricky Pearsall, who to me was a slot guy at best, wide receiver two, wide receiver three.
Mm-hmm.
And to draft him in the first round was kind of crazy to me. Not that I don't like Ricky, but what I've seen from him, he looks decent. But I just thought it was a reach where they drafted. Niners have a big hole to fill at wide receiver one. It's not just because Debo's leaving. It's always been that way.
Yeah. Last thing we can talk about is, what do the 49ers need to do to become Super Bowl contenders again? Is there any, I think we kind of all know, but what do we have to do to make it back to the Super Bowl?
You got to build a team. You got to build
a good team.
You got to build a great team, and they're far away. We just talked about all the holes. They need a great wide receiver. They need defensive interior line, like two really good dudes. They need D winners to step up or find out what they're going to do with linebacker. They need a safety. They can cover deep. I like Malik. He's my favorite player out of the draft last year that the 49ers got. Yeah, but I'm not huge on Jair, and Huff. I think is, as much as I like Huff, I don't think he's necessarily the answer there either. So
and I don't think he's going to resign either.
Right? They need corner depth.
It's a lot.
In my opinion, man, they're just not going to compete for a Super Bowl for a while. Sorry, it's just too much.
Yeah. It's valid. And the Larry Sports Talk brings up a good point. He says 49ers will win a lot of games this year because of their weak schedule, but come playoff time, they'll get waxed. I do kind of agree with that. Our schedule sucks. Like, in a way, it kind of, like, everyone's like, oh, it's a weak schedule. This is awesome. It's like, you don't really want a weak schedule because you're going to have a weak schedule, play against all these bad teams, play against a real team in the playoffs, and you're going to get killed.
I 100% agree. That's what I think happens.
Yeah. For the Niners, for me, I definitely think it's not being as injured as we were, which, man, this season, it was cursed. I don't care what anyone says. This season was cursed. Like, the stuff that happened with Travarius Ward, the stuff that happened with Trent Williams, all the injuries. It's like Ricky Pearsall getting shot. Like, it's just, that stuff doesn't happen. Like, Ricky Pearsall had the weirdest rookie season ever. If someone were to ask him, like, yo, how was your rookie season? Oh, I got shot and then I went to play. Like, it's not normal things that like this whole off season, this whole season was just weird. So that too, I think the Niners did have a Super Bowl hangover as well. I think they were just tired. Like, a lot of the games, the Niners just looked tired. So hopefully this offseason, imagine if Brandon Ayuk came back at the start of the year. He's not, though. He's going to be out till I think December, which sucks. So I do think we do need, maybe we draft a wide receiver, but I don't think if we even draft a wide receiver, he's not going to be wide receiver one right away. And then I think it's just, of course, addressing the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. Those are the biggest things for me. And then maybe cornerback as well. I mean, I heard DJ Reed is interested in coming back to the Niners. That's what I heard, because Salah's back. Would you want DJ Reed? I would want him.
Yeah, I think he'd be good. I mean, he's a good corner. So I mean, it just depends though. But here's the thing: to compete, they need to get those guys I was talking about. But in my opinion, really, like, from a really smart standpoint, 49ers need to be thinking long term. They need to be thinking 2 or 3 years down the line right now, because I just don't see them being able to put together a roster that competes with the Eagles. And the other thing that we haven't talked about that I think is a problem is, what version of Christian McCaffrey are we going to get
That
Jordan
too.
Mason most likely is going to leave.
He should leave,
Also,
man. He should
yeah,
leave. If I'm Jordan Mason, I'm getting the hell out of here, man. I just did
yeah,
so much in the first couple games of the year, and then CMC comes back, and then you shit me off.
yeah.
If I'm Jordan Mason, I'm getting the hell out.
Right, and I think he will. So what are they left with? Isaac Rendo coming off of an injury, Christian McCaffrey coming off of an injury. So there's a big need at running back for the 49ers also.
Yeah.
And especially like we don't know what kind of season Christian McCaffrey is going to have. Like I'm highly doubtful that we see a 2023 Christian McCaffrey. So 49ers have a ton of work to do.
We do. I think maybe. Do you know who you know Scadaboo is, right?
Yeah, actually, his cousin DMs me. He's been DMing me for a couple years about him.
I think I heard that one of your like that's a guy. I would love him as a running back too. He is sick. He's everything you want in a running back, and he's a 49ers fan. Why not? Third round, if he's there, why not? Like, I do agree with you, though. I don't like McCaffrey's how old? 29, 30. You just came off of that calf injury or whatever. Then you get an MCL. It's like just the injuries are piling and piling and piling up. So I think we need running back. There's a lot of things that we like. You listing off all these things, there's a lot that we have to do this offseason. Like, it's not just a little bit to get back there. It's a lot. And
that's why I'm saying it'll take a miracle for them to be like a Super Bowl contender this season. And realistically, they need to be planning for 2-3 years down the line.
And the biggest thing is, like, do you think Ayuk's going to be the same when he comes back? Do you think Ayuk's going to be that same wide receiver that we saw in the NFC Championship game? Like, do you think he'll be that same wide receiver or no? It's like, what did he have? ACL, MCL, and another one? Like, he had his knee is just screwed.
Yeah, his knee's cooked. The odds are no that we never see the same version of Brandon Ayuk. Hopefully we do. I like Brandon Ayuk, but the odds are no that we won't see the same version of Brandon Ayuk we saw before.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this live. Thank you guys so much for joining. Second ever live. Thank you, Ryan, so much for joining. I don't know when I'll be live next, but stay tuned. Make sure you guys go. Ryan will be live tonight. If you're in here, make sure you guys go check it out. Go subscribe to Ryan. Thank you so much, Ryan.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Make sure you guys drop a like, comment, subscribe. I'm out, man. Peace.